Inside the Magic, show number 424 for May 19th, 2013.
Hello, everybody. This is Jim Cummings. I am here with the world-famous Inside the Magic, and I have a special message from the 100-Acre Wood.
Don't forget to stay as sweet as honey.
Oh, yeah, and don't forget to keep on bouncing. TTFN.
It is Sunday, May 19th, 2013. This is show 424 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I'm your host, Ricky Briganti, and as you just heard, we have a very special guest on this week's show. Actually, two. Not only is Jim going to be joining us a little bit later for one of the most hilarious interviews I've ever done for Inside the Magic, but also a really great interview from overseas about some new and exciting Disney happenings around the world. So stay tuned for all of that, and of course, plenty of other news and all that good stuff. Before we get to all of it, I invite you to visit our website over at InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news, articles, and plenty more. And if you ever have any news, tips, questions, comments, anything else you want to send in, you can do so by writing to me at Ricky@InsideTheMagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. There's a special place where kids can train to be a pirate with Captain Hook while parents are off lounging the day away at an adult-exclusive pool. Let Magical Travel help you plan the perfect Disney Cruise Line vacation for your family with free shipboard credit available with each booking, and you're going to want to book now for the best availability and pricing by calling Magical Travel today at 866-207-8387 or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote, and be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive your free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And thanks very much to all of any of you who have contributed to the show, one-time, recurring, monthly donations, or just clicking through any of those affiliate links over on the website. It all supports Inside the Magic, and I thank you much for all of it. And now, let's get started with our trip around the world. Well, welcome to Star Wars Weekends 2013, or at least that's what Walt Disney World was saying this week over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. It is the beginning this weekend of the annual event, bigger and better than ever now that Disney owns Lucasfilm. Actually, not that many changes this year to Star Wars Weekends, though there was plenty of excitement. One of the new things this year, Chip and Dale appearing over there in the park dressed as Ewoks. A new character appearance there, pretty cute. And then, of course, the highlight of every day at Star Wars Weekends at the end of the day is the annual Hyperspace Hoopla. And plenty of surprises this year, lots of fun musical numbers in which the Jedi and the Sith or other intergalactic creatures and all of that joined into the dance-off with the Star Wars stars. Always very, very popular each year. I was there opening night just a couple of nights ago. Of course, recorded the whole thing, put it up on InsideTheMagic.net and on our YouTube channel. So if you're not going to be able to make it in person, definitely head over there to watch the musical stylings of, the dance stylings, I guess I should say, of Emperor Palpatine dancing to the Beastie Boys, Darth Vader and Boba Fett breaking it down to Michael Jackson, the Chewbacca and the Ewoks grooving to Outcast. There's also, of course, Gangnam Style and Harlem Shake and a few other surprises like Jedi Mickey making a first ever appearance in the dance-off with the Star Wars stars. Pretty exciting, so definitely head on over to InsideTheMagic.net or on our YouTube channel to watch it. It's not something I want to include here on the podcast because it's just one of those things that you have to just sit down and watch it to really appreciate it, not part of this whole show. So definitely go check that out, as thousands and thousands have already. Also over at Star Wars Weekends, as part of Disney's D-Tech Me product line. If you remember last year at Star Wars Weekends, I took part in the Carbon Freeze Me Carbonite experience, in which I became a frozen Carbonite figurine. Well, this year, there's a new part of that in which you can customize and create your own Stormtrooper figure. And of course, I couldn't pass up that opportunity. So I did head over to, while I was there at Star Wars Weekends, I went through that whole experience. Of course, it's going to take several weeks, about 7 to 8 weeks for delivery for the actual Stormtrooper figure of me. But right now, you can head on over to, once again, the website or on our YouTube channel to see a video of me going through that process of getting my face 3D scanned in order to create a custom Stormtrooper figure. So I'll certainly share what that'll look like in a couple of months when it arrives. That is taking place only during Star Wars Weekends at Disney's Hollywood Studios. You can reserve a time by calling 407-WDW Tech. All right, now let's turn away from Star Wars, turn away from the Star Wars music, and move on to a few other topics here. Over at Disney's Animal Kingdom, the park that we don't usually have that much news from, well, things seem to be moving along, and I have a feeling we're going to have a lot more news in the near future coming out of that park as a new meet and greet location has opened for Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse. It's called the Adventurers Outpost. It's an exploration headquarters, as Disney puts it. It's on the park's Discovery Island area. Mickey and Minnie are meeting in safari outfits, and it seems like a relatively small thing. Mickey and Minnie got a new meet and greet. Well, where were they before? They were in Camp Minnie Mickey, of course. So why would they remove Mickey and Minnie from Camp Minnie Mickey? Well, it seems it's to make way for Avatar. Of course, yes, that project is indeed still happening, even though Disney has been, relatively quiet on the details. In fact, almost completely quiet on those details, not really saying much about what that project entails, but also definitely mentioning it whenever given the opportunity at a press event, just saying, hey, yeah, we're still working on Avatar. Well, it seems, it hasn't been officially confirmed yet, but it's most likely widely reported that Camp Minnie Mickey is going to be the future home of Pandora or Avatar Land or whatever they end up calling it. Of course, that means the Festival of the Lion King stage show, very popular show, will also be moving to a new theater, reportedly around the Harambe/Africa area of the park. Again, unconfirmed, hasn't been announced. Really, no details have been announced for this Avatar project yet. But I can definitely assure you that it is still in the works, and I know that because I talked to Walt Disney World President George Kalogridis. He, of course, just came over here from California, where he was the head of the Disneyland Resort for quite a number of years during that massive makeover project of the Disney California Adventure theme park. Now he's over here overseeing multiple projects that are ongoing here, including Avatar. So I had a chance a couple of weeks ago during the Monstrous summer press event to talk to him just a little bit, and here's what he had to say. I asked him a little bit about Avatar, and here's what he had to say about that.
That 5-year project of California Adventure, you had a very clear sort of timeline of how it was all going to play out. It's a little bit more up in the air, especially with Avatar here. Mm-hmm. Is it harder to kind of juggle these projects where you don't, you're not revealing a whole lot up front, you're getting a lot of feedback like, oh, is this really happening? That kind of thing.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we're committed, so that's not an issue. And I think what's wonderful about Walt Disney World is you have a lot of land and you have a lot of ideas. And so, just since I've been here, the announcement of Disney Springs, for example, was something that came with a lot over the years. A lot of, as you point out, there was no firm date, but now there's a firm date, and the same thing will happen with Avatar. It's just when you're creating something that's never existed before, it's different than if you're replicating something that's already been built somewhere.
So there you go, word straight from Walt Disney World President George Kalogridis that, Avatar is still in the works, just it's something brand new, it's something they've never done before, so they want to take their time, make sure that they do it right. Of course, the film sequel to Avatar, which was a big success at the box office, was originally scheduled for release by the end of next year, 2014. That has since been pushed back a couple of years, at least, to 2016, which I'm sure has affected Disney's timeline on that project as well, because they're going to be wrapping in, reportedly, some of those storylines from the upcoming at least one, if not two sequels to Avatar into the world, so they want to kind of align that all together to when the films come out. So it doesn't seem like Avatar is going to be around in Animal Kingdom, opening for several years now, but just little by little, this new meet and greet over there is kind of the very, very inching its way toward that project. We'll certainly still keep following it as we get closer and closer. Now, I mentioned the Monstrous Summer just a minute ago, and some new details came out this week, the entertainment details for the Monstrous Summer All-Nighter that's taking place this coming Friday into Saturday from 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. 24 hours. The Park Magic Kingdom will be open out here at Walt Disney World, as well as both parks out at the Disneyland Resort. Well, out here at Walt Disney World, there will be a special opening ceremony at 6 a.m., probably something small, similar to what they did for One More Disney Day last year. But in addition, of course, it is the Monstrous Summer, so that means Mike and Sully from Monsters, Inc. / Monsters University will be there as the Grand Marshals of the celebrated Dream Come True parade. They'll also be holding screenings of Monsters, Inc. in Tomorrowland, and Chip and Dale will be appearing in Town Square. There'll be a late-night dance party in front of Cinderella Castle, just like last time, and, of course, plenty of special merchandise and goodies to eat as well. Out at the Disneyland Resort, there's going to be a Monstrous Dance Club over in Tomorrowland, also a pajama party in Toontown. In Fantasy Fair's Royal Theater, there'll be a late-night dance hall. More on that in just a minute. And also over at California Adventure in Hollywoodland, there will be Monsters University dorms, as well as a Monsters University-themed float leading up the Pixar Play Parade. Now, for those who happened to be up early in the morning yesterday on a Saturday, which I wasn't, I slept in, as I tend to do on Saturdays, trying to catch up on a little sleep, but those who were up early had a chance to sign up for the latest Disney Parks blog meetup, which is going to take place at 4:30 in the morning, an hour and a half before the Monstrous Summer All-Nighter kicks off. They're actually going to hold a screening of Monsters University along with some surprises, and then after that, of course, is the 24-hour day. So anybody going to that meetup and then continuing on to the 24 hours could potentially be immersed in the world of Disney for like 25 and a half hours, maybe even a little bit longer. That's a very long time. With so much coming up this coming weekend, I don't think I'm going to be personally as involved in the 24-hour day this time around. I'll be, again, talking about that in just a little bit. But certainly is fun for anybody who is going to be there for all of that time. Now, I mentioned a special dance party out in the Royal Theater of Fantasy Fair out at Disneyland. And this is pretty big news for those of you who are fans of swing dancing back when it was Carnation Plaza Gardens. Along with the announcement of the details for Monstrous Summer's All-Nighter, it has been revealed that the popular swing dancing nights are returning to Disneyland this summer. It's starting actually during the All-Nighter from 10 p.m. to 1:40 a.m. will be a Royal Swing Ball featuring live music and swing dancing, basically, just as it always was. Then it's going to hold off for a few weeks, and then beginning June 15th, the Jump Jive Boogie Swing Party will be returning to Disneyland on select nights in that location, the former home of Carnation Plaza Gardens, now Fantasy Fair / Royal Theater. It is the exact same dance floor there, even though the theater has been given a makeover. The actual floor itself remained. They didn't touch it, so you'll still be dancing on the same floor that Walt Disney once did decades ago. And the specific times and dates of the swing dancing returning to Disneyland will be revealed very soon on the Disneyland.com calendar page. Let's jump back out here to Walt Disney World, though this is a much bigger topic than just here. Of course, last week I was talking all about Merida's coronation ceremony over at the Magic Kingdom, where she became officially the 11th Disney princess as part of that brand from Disney Consumer Products. And leading up to that and following it was a swarm of controversy online about the supposed makeover of Merida, that she didn't look like herself when she became a 2D version of the character to sort of conform to the Disney princess standards, if you will. Co-director of Brave and Merida creator Brenda Chapman had voiced her displeasure with Disney online in a number of places, really just blasting Disney for not liking that makeover. Well, this week, this was pretty big news for us. Disney actually decided to chime in finally on the topic, and they did so by reaching out to me, to Inside the Magic first. Disney Consumer Products wrote to me, or rather called me, and we talked about it for quite a while. They said that the whole thing has really been blown out of proportion, to use their words, that they had no intention of changing who Merida was. Really, the new artwork was part of the coronation ceremony and a limited line of products, as they put it. They sent me the invitation that they sent out for the royal coronation, which shows this 2D variation of Merida, not the 3D CG version that's been used, of course, from Pixar's renderings in the film Brave. This is kind of the new version of Merida, if you will. And And this artwork, according to them, was intended only for a limited line of products, or as a one-time stylized version. They say they change the look of characters all the time, depending on the products, depending on how they're going to portray it, whether it's for a toddler or, a teenager or whatever it may be. And they also noted that Merida wanted to quote-unquote dress up for her coronation ceremony. So she, put on a little bit more makeup, tamed her hair a little bit, wore a fancier dress, and et cetera, et cetera. Well, the world not thrilled with this. I posted an article following my conversation with them over at InsideTheMagic.net, and the conversation certainly continued rapidly across major news outlets, including reaching all the way to the Daily Show on Comedy Central. Jon Stewart, as he was talking about this at length, really laying into Disney as well, even showed a screenshot from our website, InsideTheMagic.net, during the broadcast just a couple of days ago. And I'm not going to play what he said here on the show because it wasn't exactly a family-friendly, as much of what Jon Stewart says. It's not intended for a little bit of an older audience, but it was very amusing. So if you didn't see that episode, go back a few days and check out. I'll put a link in the show notes, actually, if you want to see that. But in summary here, and the issue does seem to be calming down a little bit since Disney's been really putting out their PR blitz about this whole thing, saying they didn't intend for Merida to completely change from their the way she looked in Brave. By any means, they're not trying to change who she was. They're just simply reusing a different style of what she looked like for a certain line of products. And whether you believe that or not, you can chime in on the lengthy, heated discussion, including Brenda Chapman herself even commented on Inside the Magic this week with her own thoughts. So there's multiple articles over there. Just search for Merida Makeover on Google, and you'll find it. It's right there at the top. And chime in with your own musings on the topic that has basically taken over and been one of the most popular topics ever on Inside the Magic within over the last 3 weeks or so. But speaking of Brave and Merida and, of course, Scotland, the 18th Epcot International Food and Wine Festival, the details for that have been announced. That's going to be starting a few months from now, September 27th, running through November 11th. And this year, Disney is adding a Scotland marketplace. According to them, Scottish officials actually came to Disney and said they wanted to be part of the Food and Wine Festival after they saw what they did for Brave, what Disney and Pixar did for Brave. So the Scotland marketplace at the Food and Wine Festival will be designed by Walt Disney Imagineering. It will feature traditional flavors of Scotland with beers and meads and scotch as well, of course. In addition to Scotland, returning this year after a year off is the Brazil marketplace with a new menu. And then, of course, there is the popular Eat to the Beat concert series during the Food and Wine Festival, and there are some new acts this year. The Go-Go's are a new act, September 30th and October 1st. Edwin McCain, October 10th and 11th. The Manhattan Transfer, October 12th and 13th. The Spin Doctors, October 31st, Halloween, and the day after, November 1st. And then Christopher Cross, November 2nd and 3rd. Those are definitely not the only acts as part of the Eat to the Beat concert series. You can head on over to our website to see the full list of all of the acts. Let's turn away from Disney here a little bit over to Busch Gardens, Tampa, where a new live stage show has debuted this weekend. Madagascar Live, Operation Vacation is the name of it. Of course, it features the characters from the popular Madagascar movies in a newly enclosed and air-conditioned Stanleyville theater. That's definitely a welcome addition to the park. It's a 20-minute musical adventure, as they call it, and it features singers and dancers and even a live band. Now, coming up this week, be pretty exciting around Orlando. Lots and lots is going to be taking place, in addition to the Monstrous Summer All-Nighter, of course, which I've talked about quite a lot here on the show. Looking beyond the Disney parks, at SeaWorld, they're going to be debuting Antarctica, the whole new realm with the Empire of the Penguin ride. I'll be going to a media preview of that on the 23rd, this coming Thursday, and then the grand opening for the public is on Friday, May 24th. But already SeaWorld has revealed some details about some fun new products that they're including as part of Antarctica. And one of them is, Universal has butterbeer, and Walt Disney World has LeFou's Brew now in New Fantasyland. Well, SeaWorld's, not quite going that far with a special drink, but they are having an exclusive flavor of Coca-Cola Freestyle, those great machines that have hundreds of flavors built in. Well, they're going to have an exclusive flavor called the South Pole Chill, and it's being described as vanilla infused. I don't know how that's any different than Vanilla Coke, but I guess guess I'll find out in a few days when I give it a shot. In addition, SeaWorld also has announced they are going to be using the Cup That Cares, as they're calling it. It's a reusable and interactive cup using RFID technology that interacts with those Coke Freestyle dispensers. It's going to calculate and tell guests how they're being more environmentally responsible by reusing a cup rather than throwing one away and getting another one. It actually calculates the amount of CO2 that the guest is saving from entering the atmosphere when they reuse a cup. There are actually two cup options, a $10 option that's going to show pictures from Empire of the Penguin ride, the star of that, Puck, who's the penguin and his penguin family, or you can get a Create a Cup That Cares, and that's almost the Mr. Potato Head of cups. It's a penguin-shaped character cup with more than 40 different accessories that, of course, you can buy and, accessorize your cup. That's $16 plus the cost of the accessories. SeaWorld's going to donate $1 from each of those cups to their own conservation fund, and refills for either Cup That Cares option is just 99 cents throughout the park. So make sure you stay tuned toward the end of the week this week to get a nice inside look. First glimpse into Antarctica and Empire of the Penguin. I'm really excited. It seems like the Empire of the Penguin attraction is going to be a lot of fun. Now, last week, of course, I talked extensively about Universal Orlando's expansion of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter into Diagon Alley at Universal Studios Florida. A little bit more details came out this week, though none of it is really confirmed by Universal. There was a survey sent out online, as Universal tends to do quite often, surveying fans, getting their opinion about things that are to come. And website Parkscope actually first posted this news online, the details of that survey. The survey actually said that the opening date of the Diagon Alley expansion is going to be summer 2014, which is not anything Universal is commenting on. So whether or not the survey knows more than everybody else, seems likely that it'll open in time for the summer of next year. Not 100% confirmed, but more than likely. Also, the survey really focused on the Hogwarts Express train and how tickets would be working there. It noted the fact that, of course, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter is very popular, and crowds, especially during the summer months, have really restricted access to that. They've had to do timed entry. You couldn't just go right in. Well, they're expecting the same to happen with Diagon Alley when that opens, and because of that, if you were to take the Hogwarts Express from one park to the other, it's conceivable that you would do that, but then not be able to get straight off of the train into the land that you were waiting. You might have to then get off the train and get into a line to get into there, which would not be the most pleasant experience in the world, and so they were getting fan thoughts on that. And in addition, they seem to be considering the possibility of having round-trip tickets on the train in case you don't want to buy a ticket to both parks, since, half the Wizarding World will be in one park, half will be in the other park once this opens. Perhaps you'll be able to still ride the Hogwarts Express, but not get off on the other side and just be able to experience it and then only pay for one park. It is still all very much up in the air at this point. You can read more details over at our website. Also at Universal Orlando, this week, NBC's Today Show is going to be taping there very early in the morning on Thursday, May 23rd. They offered an opportunity for the first 1,000 people to RSVP to actually go to the taping, interact with the hosts, and get a free ticket to the parks. And many are thinking, well, if the Today Show is going to be there, maybe we're going to see Transformers have a soft opening. Maybe they'll, certainly want to feature it as part of that national broadcast. And employees have been training just starting this weekend over at Transformers, so it seems very, very likely that a soft opening of Transformers The Ride 3D is coming up very, very soon, especially with the busy Memorial Day weekend coming up. Not, again, not confirmed, but very, very likely. Now let's look at Legoland Florida, where recently, Legoland Florida announced their World of Chima expansion of the park, and this week they announced that expansion will be officially opening on July 3rd of this year. You can find out more details about that whole area, including the new water ride that's going to be part of it, over at our website. Seem to be saying that a lot this week. And something else exciting is happening in Orlando throughout Memorial Day weekend. Very, very busy weekend, of course. Very crowded, very popular weekend to be here. But on top of that, even more between Antarctica, potential of Transformers, the All-Nighter, and now also over on International Drive at the Rosen Center, Orlando, will be Spooky Empire's annual Mayhem Convention. And in addition, in conjunction to that, another convention at the same place at the same time, Halloween Extreme. At the Mayhem Convention, Disney's Ursula voice, Pat Carroll, Carroll will be there. Very exciting. A lot of other celebrities from the horror genres, and for some reason, Dennis Rodman's going to be there appearing. I'm not really sure why, but I guess just because he's Dennis Rodman. Of course, it'll all kick off with a zombie walk on Friday on International Drive, and then Halloween Extreme, new convention from the Trans World folks. They're the ones who put on the industry show every year about all the haunted attractions where the haunt owners go every year to get all their latest and greatest animatronics and fog and effects and smells and all that kind of good stuff. Well, this is the first time they're putting on a consumer version of that show, a public version, and it's being held here in Orlando, which is wonderful. I'll definitely be over there. Plenty of seminars, making of sort of things, how do you do things, plenty to purchase. In addition, there will be presentations by Universal for Halloween Horror Nights, as well as Hallowscream from Busch Gardens. There will be a zombie prom on Friday night. You can find out more about those conventions, which are separate admission, by the way, spookyempire.com and halloweenextreme.com, and then definitely in the days that follow, check our website for lots of wrap-up reports from that. I'm really, really excited to get more Halloween in May. And even more Halloween news here, but jumping coasts over to California now. A new convention has been announced called Scare LA. It's the first in Los Angeles, first convention, to be dedicated exclusively to celebrating Halloween. It's going to take place in downtown Los Angeles on August 10th and 11th, the same weekend as the D23 Expo. It's going to feature presentations and panels and performances and behind the scenes looks at haunted attractions, and Universal Hollywood's Halloween Horror Nights will be giving a presentation there, along with Garner Holt Productions, which is a animatronics producer that has been working very closely with Disney for many years, producing a lot of Disney's animatronics. You can find out more about that upcoming convention at scarela.com. And with that being the same weekend as the D23 Expo, somehow I'm going to try to juggle going to both. Priority, of course, goes to the D23 Expo, but I'm definitely going to try to sneak away and go to at least a little bit of Scare LA as well. Now, earlier, I mentioned that one of the two interviews that I'm featuring in just a little bit on this week's show is, of course, Jim Cummings, who you heard at the top of the show. But the other one is about an overseas topic, and you might guess that topic is Mystic Manor and Mystic Point at Hong Kong Disneyland, because this week was the grand opening for that area of the park. It was an appropriately dark and stormy morning for that to open up. It's kind of sort of Hong Kong Disneyland's version of the Haunted Mansion, though not quite, and you'll hear more about that coming up in just a little bit. It is the final chapter of the park's multi-year expansion project. In attendance at the grand opening was Imagineer Joe Lancicero, Oscar nominee and Mystic Point soundtrack composer Danny Elfman, and plenty more people. Of course, a Mystic Point includes more than just Mystic Manor. It includes the Garden of Wonders, the Explorers Club restaurant, the Archive Shop, and the Mystic Point Freight Depot. And there's so much really, great so many new characters and artwork and sights to see throughout Mystic Manor that it was absolutely worthy of discussing more in depth here on the show. Which stay tuned. We'll be talking much more to one of the guys who was behind the creation of it all. Now, here's some surprising news that came from D23 this week. Of course, that's the official fan club for Disney. They are soon going to be offering a free membership level. That's right, I said free. They're going to be revamping their website on June 17th. That's at d23.com. And at that point, there's going to be members-only content available there, but it's free to sign up. And so that free membership not only is going to give you access to that new website and all its exclusive content, but also access to exclusive merchandise for D23, a subscription to the weekly D23 Fanfare e-newsletter, and the access to discounted tickets to the D23 Expo. Now, those of you who are already members, who have paid for membership or were thinking about it, you're thinking, well, why am I going to pay now? Well, D23 isn't changing the paid membership levels. They're still silver and gold. Those are going to coexist with this free membership, and they're still keeping the same prices and perks. So a gold membership is still $75, and it includes the now gold exclusive subscription to the Disney 23 magazine, which you can no longer buy in stores. Or if you want the silver membership, you don't want the magazine, you still get all the other perks that gold gets for $35, which is a membership card, an annual gift, and access to the D23 members-only events. And that's the really key difference between the free membership and the paid ones, as the free one does not grant you access to those members-only events. Now, the new D23.com is going to feature all kinds of new fun features like Ask a Legend, a video feature in which Disney legend Marty Sklar and other legends will be answering fan questions. You get an attraction rewind, a look at past attractions, a lot of things about Muppets and Weird Disney and quotable Walt Disney and characters. First look at upcoming things, 23 questions with various celebrities, and the list goes on and on. So a lot of really exciting content that'll be exclusive to D23.com is coming up, but you have to sign up as of June 17th is when that will be available. Now, just a little bit ago, I was talking about my excitement for Halloween, of course, here in May, but coming up in October, it was announced this week that Disney and Pixar are working on a new 30-minute Halloween special called Toy Story of Terror. Okay, I didn't really have to say it like that, but it is Toy Story of Terror on ABC in October. And the description of this 30-minute Halloween special is as follows. What starts out as a fun road trip for the Toy Story gang. Voice doesn't work with this music in the background, doesn't. Let's go with something a little bit more creepy here. What starts out as a fun road trip for the Toy Story gang takes an unexpected turn for the worse. When the trip detours to a roadside motel, after one of the toys goes missing, the others find themselves caught up in a mysterious sequence of events that must be solved before they all suffer the same fate. Okay, that worked a little better. So, yeah, there it is. The Toy Story of Terror coming this October to ABC with the original cast. Tom Hanks as Woody, Tim Allen as Buzz, Joan Cusack as Jessie, Timothy Dalton as Mr. Prickle Pants, Don Rickles as Mr. Potato Head, Wallace Shawn as Rex, Kristen Schaal as Trixie, and Carl Weathers as Combat Carl and Combat Carl Jr. In addition to that, ABC this week announced their full 2013/2014 primetime schedule that will include shows Back in the Game, Betrayal, The Goldbergs, Killer Women, Lucky 7, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which we talked about last week, Mind Games, Mixology, Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, a spin-off of Once Upon a Time, but themed to Alice in Wonderland, Resurrection, Super Fun Night, Trophy Wife, and The Quest, which is like a fantasy reality show that's set in the woods with, role-playing and that kind of thing. I don't know. Could be good, could be awful. Anyway, there it is. Speaking of Disney TV shows, though, Tron Uprising, which I loved, was very sad to have it disappear from TV. It is now available for watching on Netflix for those of you who are subscribers. Just check your instant play area and you can watch Tron Uprising. And final bit of news this week is announcements of upcoming Blu-ray releases from Disney on August 6th, a few months from now. Robin Hood will be making its way to Blu-ray for the first time. Also, The Sword and the Stone and Oliver and Company. And then on August 20th will be the Peter Pan Diamond Edition, as well as Return to Neverland. And that's it for your news from around the world this week. This week's tip comes in from Justin, who writes, I really enjoy the show and have a few security-related tips for you while you're in the parks. As a security host here at Disney, I deal with parties who get separated from their group, from kids to grandparents to guests with special needs, and while only separated for a short amount of time, it helps security to reunite guests back by planning ahead for this rare type of moment. Number one, take a photo with everyone in your group at the start of each day. You now have a photo to give an accurate description of each person with what they wore that day to aid cast in finding them quicker. Number two, meeting place in the middle of the park, the castle, Tree of Life, etc. Easy to find and plenty of cast to help out. Good idea there. And number three, have a lanyard with an ID on each member, likely to need a little help when approached by cast if separated. Name, address, phone, resort staying with room number. Great for cast to call the main contact in your group to let them know where to find the separated guests. These are just a few simple tips to make it easier for cast and security to help you find who you're looking for as quickly as possible. Definitely some great tips there. I especially like the one about the photo because, you stay on vacation, you kind of rush out the door in the morning, you don't remember what everybody's wearing for sure if you just take that quick photo at the beginning of the day, especially for little ones, if you could somehow, equip them with a little disposable camera or one of those keychain photo things, or I don't know, some way, even a phone. It seems like every kid has a phone nowadays. If they're able to show a cast member, hey, this is what my parents were wearing, or even, hey, this is what my kid was wearing today, that definitely is a big help. So thanks for those tips. Everybody else, email your tips into tips@insidethemagic.net. And now I do want to take you overseas for a very special interview. A few days ago, actually maybe about a week and a half ago, I had a chance to sit down and talk at length with Imagineer and Executive Creative Director of Mystic Point and Mystic Manor, Mystic Manor, Mark Schirmer. He really is one of the guys behind everything new and exciting and innovative and certainly intriguing that's been going on over in Hong Kong Disneyland. From watching it all unfold online over the last few years and from afar, certainly I've been really excited to see how all of this turns out. And now I want to preface this with I didn't want to get into too many spoilers. So if you're like me, I've actually not watched a whole Mystic Manor ride through. I want to be surprised when I do get out there eventually. But if you want to kind of know the story behind Mystic Manor and Mystic Point, this is going to be a great interview for you because we didn't go into the details about what happens in the attraction, but really just kind of get behind the scenes look at the creation of it. So now let's go to my conversation with Imagineer Mark Schirmer. What I'd really like to know to begin this is what have you worked on in the past that Disney fans would recognize from your time at Walt Disney Imagineering?
Oh, let's see. Probably most recently, there spent a good part of my time in the Tokyo portfolio. So Monstrous Ride and Go Seek.
Okay.
Raging Spirits at Tokyo Disney Sea. I was the show producer for Buzz Lightyear there.
Okay, excellent. A good array of attractions, though it seems like Mystic Point and Mystic Manor definitely are really blowing minds out there from anyone who's seen sort of the previews that have been going on. Tell me a little bit about the backstory behind Mystic Manor. What was the inspiration for it? What is the story of the attraction?
Yeah. Actually, inspirationally, it was something, in some of our early brainstormings where we really, kind of fell on this, the hook for kind of just world travel and exploration. I think that kind of, set the stage for us to kind of go forward and really, get into the backstory of Mystic Point. So kind of using that, obviously developing the character, Lord Henry Mystic, using him as this kind of foil and setting it back in 1908 is the essence where we're taking you back. He on one of his expeditions, he basically fell in love with this location, this kind of uncharted tropical wilderness that he's fallen in love with and wanted to stake his claim, basically make his home there. And so he cleared out part of the jungle and, along the riverbank and built this Victorian manor. He's obviously a well-to-do British gentleman, and he wanted a little bit of home in this tropical wilderness. So he started with the essence of a Victorian manor, but of course wanted to embellish it with all of the different places that he's been. So it's this eclectic Victorian manor sitting in this cleared-out jungle along the river. So that's kind of the essence of Mystic Point. And of course, while he was there, that's where he met and actually rescued his traveling companion, a young monkey named Albert, that he named after one of his beloved uncles. So between finding this location and meeting his now lifelong pal and companion, Albert, this was really the essence of Mystic Point. And then the idea of kind of continuing that through, we wanted to tell the story about his collection. And of course, anyone willing to make the journey, this hard journey, and kind of stumble on or find Mystic Point, he, being kind of a philanthropic character, wanted to open the doors of his home, basically, to showcase his collection. And that's the essence of what guests are coming to Mystic Point for, is to showcase and be able to view the collection and also meet Lord Henry and Albert. And that's kind of the essence of what the place is. And it contains, obviously, the manor itself. It also contains a 400-seat restaurant called the Explorers Club. So anyone going to Mystic Point actually becomes an honorary member for the day that gets access not only to the manor and the collection, but also into the Explorers Club restaurant. You kind of become an honorary member for the day. You get, basically rights and privileges around the restaurant, the manor, and of course his garden and his estate, where he also is kind of perpetuating that idea of his collection. And there's this great area development piece where we refer to as the Garden of Wonders. It's basically a sculpture garden that is has several illusions connected with it. So if you see the sculptures on their own, they're really quite nice and interesting to look at. But we've actually set up these viewing stations that if you look through the viewing station, something actually, an illusion happens, a visual illusion happens where their friends can actually interact with these sculptures and they take on a slightly different shape, or it kind of, morphs the people to be, either really close or really far away, or it morphs the sculpture itself into taking on a new shape. So that's kind of the essence of the land that you're in. And the actual backstory, or the kind of idea for the attraction is, you go in and Lord Henry actually sets up the expectation that you're coming to view this collection, but being kind of an eclectic explorer, adventurer, but also an inventor, he's invented this carriage, this magneto-electric carriage that is allowing you to ride through his museum collection as opposed to walking through. So another special entity that Lord Henry is introducing is this ride carriage, and we basically follow Albert through the museum, and we get to see kind of what takes place through Albert's eyes.
Excellent. It's an excitingly unique story, certainly unique to Hong Kong Disneyland, but even unique to all the parks around the world. Ever since sort of the previews have been going on with Mystic Manor, everybody's, of course, watching videos online, seeing photos, reading the details. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of comparisons to, the haunted mansions of the world, Phantom Manor, et cetera. What were the challenges in developing Mystic Manor, knowing that those comparisons would eventually be made?
Well, and we actually kind of embraced that. That was one of the things we took on as a challenge from a design point of view. On one hand, we wanted to go back to kind of classic Disney roots and figure out, okay, what is it that was done, in the days that Walt developed Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean, or some of the great dark rides. And we wanted to go back to that, which is obviously core storytelling. So the idea of this brand new story and brand new characters, that was something that we really wanted to dive into, but at the same time bring it, forward to 21st century and really embellish it with state-of-the-art special effects. And so that kind of combination of the old and new was really something we were going after.
Yeah, it seems like it's a really exciting combination of those old concepts and, as you said, the newer technologies. Was it difficult to kind of stray away from those tried and true, vignettes that have been at the Haunted Mansion for so many years and create something entirely new, or was it just, fun and exciting to branch out?
Well, for us as designers, it's knowing that we have that kind of legacy to kind of draw on and inspire us. It's great to be able to get that blank sheet of paper and start really from scratch. At the same time, still drawing on everything that is in our past. To me, as designers, that's the most exciting part of our job.
Of course, you're out in Hong Kong Disneyland, very different culture out there than the United States. How has the culture of that area sort of affected the design and what has gone into Mystic Manor, knowing who's going to be riding through it mostly?
Well, that was actually something that we did a lot of research on, and why the idea of just lifting Haunted Mansion really maybe didn't make sense for the core audience here at Hong Kong Disneyland. So we wanted to not only develop something brand new and exciting for the guests coming to Hong Kong Disneyland, but also make it, I'll say, culturally relevant and be sensitive to that piece. So the idea of kind of, illusions, mystery, a little bit of intrigue was really something as opposed to kind of full-on, ghost and things like that, and staying more in that mysterious vein, but drawing on, what we had at Haunted Mansion. So that comparison, but trying to make it unique for our Hong Kong guests.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you mentioned the mystic aspect, the magical aspect, very different from sort of the supernatural ghost element of the Haunted Mansion. I don't want to spoil too much about the ride. Of course, I want to give everybody a chance to experience it on their own. But I know there's some sort of projected moments, I guess you could say, and some magic that's appearing in the middle of the air. Can you talk a little bit about the technology behind that?
Yeah, actually, and so I mentioned earlier where we wanted to bring some really fun and exciting new special effects, and so there is this folklore behind the key piece in the museum. So obviously, the key piece is this music box, and it's Lord Henry's latest acquisition, and he's very proud of it. And of course, there's a folklore that goes around with it that if it's opened improperly, it may emit some sort of music dust or some sort of magical vapor that escapes. And if it tags inanimate objects, they may come to life. So that's kind of the storyline behind it. But, Lord Henry is a seasoned traveler and adventurer, and he's heard different stories like this before, and he kind of is dismissive about them. But little Albert is very intrigued about getting into that. So that is, in essence, what happens in the story is Lord Henry introduces the box in one of our first scenes, and he disappears, goes back to work, and little Albert actually comes up and opens the box. And as he does, the legend actually becomes true, and you see this magical vapor, this music dust, actually appear in thin air. It actually emits out of the box, and the opening scene is basically, if you can imagine, theater in the half round. So vehicles are parked in the half round around the center stage, and nothing but this music dust comes out and kind of basically dances through the air between all of the vehicles as well as on center of stage, tagging all these different things, bringing them to life. And we follow Albert and the music dust through the museum, watching the adventures that happen.
It's sort of an update on the classic pixie dust, huh?
It is. I mean, and it's a brand new effect. It's without giving too much away, it is state of the art. It's the first time it's being presented anywhere in the world, and we're doing it here at Hong Kong Disneyland. And I always refer to it as it's giving us the chance to literally paint with pixie dust.
Very nice. Of course, you mentioned the ride system. It is particularly unique to Mystic Manor as it is a trackless system. I know Winnie the Pooh's Honey Hunt has used a trackless system before. We're still waiting out here in the United States to enjoy that type of a thing. What are the difficulties in sort of planning scenes, knowing that the vehicles can sort of, not follow this specific path? Yeah,
and that's been one of our biggest advantages and biggest challenges at the same time. So giving, having this whole idea of illusion, mystery, and intrigue, the vehicle being able to follow a unique path, and not giving it away by seeing a bus bar or, a track through the entire attraction has really been a plus for us to do that. And it's really giving each vehicle almost a front row seat for all of the different scenes. And that's one of the things we think is really fun. Once it begs you to take on different vehicles, come back a second and third time and ride from a different perspective so you can see that. At the same time, as I was mentioning, when we gather some of the vehicles, as opposed to just, taking them through like in Haunted Mansion or Small World or whatever, where they're just in a single file line, it's created a lot of challenges that we had to overcome to make sure that we, delivered on the effects and the storytelling and all that from all the different vantage points that these vehicles are seeing. And so that was, one of our challenges, but it's one of the things that actually makes the attraction, I think, really unique and special and brings it into the 21st century.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Omnimover system, classic, obviously Bob Gurr's iconic Doom Buggy design. It's instantly recognizable, but it does follow a specific path. You get the same scenes every time. How does the trackless system work? I mean, is it random as you go through, or do you have specific sort of routines that it'll follow?
It is following certain certain unique paths for the different vehicles. And the way we're doing it is controlling it through a series of RFID tags that are placed throughout the show scenes, and it literally is wire guided or wirelessly guided by a computer system, off-board computer system that is talking to each vehicle, and so we know exactly where it is at all times, and it really is something special that like I said, I can't reinforce enough how it really gives each vehicle this unique perspective and kind of this front row seat.
Definitely. The ride makes use of some impressive audio animatronics and has a really unique visual style as well. Certainly, a bit, I don't know, some have said it's cartoony. That's probably not the right word for it. But it's, if you look back, obviously, at like Mark Davis designs from the Haunted Mansion, they're very caricature-like. What was the inspiration behind the look of the characters for Mystic Manor?
Well, yeah, interesting that you bring up Mark's name. I mean, that was certainly one of our inspirations too, and kind of a chance for us to kind of tip our hat back. And it was something we really wanted to do. We initially were looking at doing, real characters dressed in costume and possibly be on green screen and inserting them into the show, as we could with that kind of, media expertise. But if you go back to what I was saying earlier, we really went back to kind of our roots and said, but that works for certain scenes. This really wants to be classic Disney, caricatures and storytelling. And so we ended up going away into the direction of really pushing these characters to be really unique and special, iconic, and immediately identifiable. So the kind of crazy long gray hair of Henry and his big handlebar mustache and kind of oversized features. We wanted him because we don't have a whole lot of time in these attractions. I mean, our overall attraction is just over 5 minutes, which isn't a whole lot of time. And so these characters want to be really recognizable from, immediately seeing them. And Albert kind of is the star of the show, really, and we really wanted to push him and make him immediately, identifiable to the guests and kind of have that immediate connection where you're going to want to follow him through his adventure. And so making him kind of that oversized head with those big, cute eyes and the different features, it really gave us that opportunity to, not only go back to our roots, but I think create characters that guests immediately identify with.
And I think everybody wants an Albert plush doll at this point. He definitely, I'm sure that will be a hot seller.
We're hoping.
Yeah, so let's talk about the music. Of course, Danny Elfman, a brilliant composer. How did he get involved, and what was the process like developing the ride score with him?
Well, Danny's been a great partner. It was a bit fortuitous for us. I think Danny was at a point where he had actually a little opening in his schedule, and he was looking to try something, I think for him new. This is the first time we've worked with him on a brand new attraction. Obviously, his score has helped some of the overlays like at Haunted Mansion for the Halloween holiday that we do, but this is the first time where he's kind of gotten in at the beginning with our creative process, and we couldn't think of a better collaborator for developing a brand new score. And the idea of mystery, intrigue, the kind of tongue-in-cheek with, like you pointed out, that the characters are a bit morphed or pushed towards, a little bit more caricatured. We're doing this kind of tongue-in-cheek with its mystery, its intrigue, its suspense, but it's also fun. And to us, Danny's music, that's kind of his signature style. I mean, you look at all the stuff that he's done with Tim Burton and the different movies that he's done, that was going to be this perfect relationship of music, fun, mystery, intrigue, and really developing a signature tune for that. I can't say enough about how much he was so into the project, and he, was really integral from the beginning concepts of the music to the fine tuning. I mean, literally, we had him in the ride building, daily, nightly, kind of going through and really helping to mix this to make it the right soundtrack for this attraction. He was a great partner.
Excellent. I've got just a few more questions that were sent in from some of our audience. Just a couple of quick ones here. You mentioned Haunted Mansion Holiday. Is there the potential for Mystic Manor to receive any kind of a holiday overlay way down the road?
Well, I think there's always, opportunity for that. But I think initially we want to just let the attraction be its original state, and if there is that opportunity, we would certainly, love the chance to do a fun overlay like that. Right.
There are a lot of fans of Danny Elfman out there. Any chance of a soundtrack to the ride being released?
Actually, that's things that were being talked about. We're getting, I'm getting tagged for questions about that, and if it was available, it sounds like people would really be excited about it. So it's something we're looking into.
Okay, great. And, we've mentioned the Haunted Mansion a bunch of times here. Are there Haunted Mansion references in Mystic Manor?
There are kind of a few, not only, Haunted Mansion's one, and there are a couple of other effects that I think, worldwide Disney fans would probably recognize from some of our other parks too. So that was a little bit of fun that we wanted to have, was pay some homage back to some of our existing attractions too.
And I also I think I caught a picture somewhere that somebody who looks a whole lot like Mr. Elfman may be hanging in there somewhere.
We do have a bit of a character, I think, in our queue line that he's an honorary member of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers.
Well, and last question. Speaking of adventures, of course, you mentioned the restaurant that's out there. I understand the beloved Adventures Club out here in Orlando, of course, is no more, but there are some props from it out there in Hong Kong now?
There are some. We actually were able to find some of the pieces from Adventures Club from Pleasure Island and rework some of their animation, and they are adorning a portion of the restaurant. I won't give that away. It's something you'll have to find. But yeah, it's kind of a fun little tip of our hat to Adventures Club, and I think even guests that maybe aren't familiar with Adventures Club, just seeing animation in a restaurant, I think might be fun for them too.
Excellent. Well, the whole thing sounds like a blast. I'm incredibly jealous. I'm out here in Florida, and I want to hop the next plane to Hong Kong. Someday I'm definitely going to have to get out there. Of course, the ride's not officially open yet, right? It's May 17th, the opening date?
Yeah, the official grand opening is the 16th, and then we do kind of a limited VIP viewing at that point, and then 17th is the grand opening to the public. Yeah. Great.
Well, congratulations on a fantastic new attraction, and here's hoping we get some more unique, sort of original Imagineering that we can look forward to in the future as well.
Oh, great. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Very, very exciting stuff there. Mystic Point, Mystic Manor are now open at Hong Kong Disneyland, and I'm going to have to get out there someday. It just seems like so much fun. If you do want to find out more, not only from Mark, but other Imagineers and folks who have worked on both of those areas, Mystic Manor and the entirety of Mystic Point, all the entertainment offerings, etc., you're going to want to head over to InsideTheMagic.net, because I posted a really extensive behind-the-scenes look, even more from Mark, but also, like I said, from the other folks with two pretty lengthy videos, about 5 minutes long each, really diving deep into those two areas. So if you are as intrigued by all of this as I am, don't miss that over on InsideTheMagic.net. And now I do have another great interview to share with you this week. I've made you wait an hour for it, and I'm going to make you wait just a little bit longer, but because before we get to this hilarious interview, I want to talk about Capturing Magic, the pair of iPhone apps that are the ultimate tool for documenting and recording the magic of your Disney vacation. Whether you're at Disneyland or Walt Disney World, Capturing Magic offers a helpful list of photo opportunities and memories to capture before, during, and after your trip. It is the perfect way to ensure that you don't miss a magical moment. While you're in the parks, the app is going to remind you of your desired photo opportunities that you've made on your list while you're near those locations, and then whenever you take a photo, you can use the app to mark off who's in it and on what camera you took it with, and then easily organize everything later, even emailing yourself a list of all the photos. So the Capturing Magic iPhone apps are available now in the iTunes App Store. Joining me this week on Inside the Magic is a man with many, many voice talents. I'm sure you'll recognize his voices that include, over the years, Darkwing Duck, Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Ray the Firefly, and so many more. I welcome Jim Cummings.
Hello, one and all. Glad to be here.
Excellent.
Nice place you got here.
Thank you very much. It's in this digital world of podcasting.
Yes.
So my favorite character of yours over the years, one I grew up with that I'd like to talk about first, is indeed a Darkwing Duck. Love that character.
Well, he loves you right back, citizen. Keep up the good work. Let's get dangerous.
Well, yeah. You know, the Disney afternoon characters in general, particularly Darkwing for me, but for everybody, have been extremely popular over the years. Why do you think even today, so many years later, these characters resonate with people so much?
Well, I got to tell you, it's because they're real and they were never really tied to any fad. You know, it's not like there were any Pogs.
Right.
Or, or a skateboard, or, I mean, fill in the blank, right? Those little digital smidgital pets that we used to all have. It seems
Sure.
like there was no fad associated with them. They were just good, it's good guy versus bad guy. That's been around for a while now, and it's probably not going to go anywhere, that whole concept. So that, and I think that, the strong characters, the writing was always superb.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget, Darkwing was a heck of a good actor. Let's face it. He was Dos Mucho. Are you kidding me? Ha! I'm kidding with you. I kid professionally. Don't try this at home.
Thank you, Darkwing. Anyway, he's probably got a point.
Darkwing, he seems to butt in whenever he wants to, and that's kind
whenever
of been
he feels like it, yeah.
his MO over the years. But yeah, the superhero sort of world maybe a little bit bumbling, but in the Disney universe is a fun twist on the whole thing. I mean, today we've got Batman and Spider-Man and all of that, but looking at Darkwing, he was sort of a pioneer for the unusual superhero.
Yeah, that's for sure. He was kind of like a slight, I think between him and Don Carnage, there was almost like a slight Monty Python-esque groove attached to them. They were not standard. There were no Care Bears involved in the making of these guys. That's for sure.
Don Carnage, of course, was what the villain of Tailspin, right?
Yes, he was an amazing guy. If I was not me, I would envy you getting to meet me. Do you see what I'm saying to you?
I do indeed. Now, of course, recently you did a hilarious video for Funny or Die with Darkwing Duck.
Good, yes.
Tell me about how that came about.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, the guys just called up. I guess the writers were fans of DW2, and they devised a rather elaborate April Fool's joke. They had the cast of Wings. Touting their Kickstarter movie, Wings the Movie. And I think Family Matters and Dinosaurs, and of course Darkwing Duck the movie. And I had to go in, and it was very interesting. As you recall from the video, I had a lot of damage to my animating hand, and it was an ugly thing. But I was under the makeup chair for minutes. It was awful. But I just had a lot of fun with that. And I can tell you that if for anybody who has not seen it, it's as you say, it's on Funny or Die, and it's the Darkwing Duck the movie Kickstarter.
Right.
And all I can tell you is it came out on April Fool's Day for a reason.
Yeah, certainly. But you know what? Even though it was on April Fool's, I will speak on behalf of every Darkwing fan out there saying we'd love to see a Darkwing movie someday.
What you said.
Now you're talking. So would I, pal. If they meet my price, of course.
Well, there you go. Thank you, DW. I'll be his agent, and he doesn't come cheaply, that's for sure.
You represent him very well. But now tell me a little bit about sort of originating voices. Of course, you were Ray the Firefly for The Princess and the Fog, another Frog, that is, not Fog.
Yes.
And that was another great movie, of course, great character. How do you develop a voice like that?
Well, that was, for Ray, it was very interesting because he had to be a Cajun, and a lot of people, they lapse into almost like a Gomer Pyle or a cowboy accent whenever, they're asked to do a Cajun accent, but it's really not like that. And I took the precaution of being a deckhand on a riverboat for years when I was a kid in New Orleans, and I often was out there on boats for days and days on end with people who who their first language was French, Cajun French, but they were born in Louisiana. They were born in the States.
Mm-hmm.
But, they're down there and they got that accent like that. You can't even tell what they do about so time like that. I'm sorry. What did you say, sir? It was I spent a lot of time going, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Right.
And they were speaking English. So,
barely.
Being the sponge that I am, I kind of picked it up and remembered that over the years. And, Princess and the Frog was one of my favorites of all time. My little girl, Gracie, you couldn't have told her that she wasn't Princess Tiana at the time. She looked just like Tiana as a 4-year-old,
really?
When she was younger.
Yeah.
And it was so darn cute. And I said, gosh, if I don't get this one, I'll shoot myself in the foot here. And it was one of my all-time favorites. It had my favorite city in it. It had, Cajun Firefly, Zydeco music, and food. So,
yeah.
And a little voodoo for good measure.
Oh, absolutely.
All the food groups are represented, obviously.
Sure. The music was phenomenal. Of course, you had a chance to do a little bit of singing as Ray.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that was one of my favorite things. We did Evangeline, Ma Belle Evangeline,
right.
And I was telling Randy Newman, I said, Randy, please, all I can tell you is this guy's a Cajun. He's a Firefly. I got to believe there's a Zydeco number in here somewhere we could do. And that's when I guess he kind of got inspired. I don't know that I was all that instrumental, but we ended up with going to take you down, take you all the way down. And it was just a ball. I just had an enormous amount of fun.
I can imagine. It's fun to listen to it and to watch it. Now, I have to ask you. You mentioned your daughter Gracie. I was listening to your podcast with Rob Paulson, another great voice talent out there.
Oh, you bet.
And he also mentioned I guess you have another daughter named Lulu.
Oh, yes. And I nicknamed her. I gave her a little mini shout out in the movie too because he picked up the pillbox bug and used it as a concertina, and I went, "Come on, Lulu!"
Yeah,
and it was a little girl pillbox bug who was his concertina, his squeeze box. So it was kind of fun to just, one looked like one daughter, and the other one I named Lulu. Now, of course, I have 2 adult daughters, Raleigh and Livia, and I wasn't able to squeeze them in. Maybe next time.
Right. Yeah. Well, hopefully there will be a next time. I mean, you've done, of course, plenty of voices over the years. You originated Ray, but you've also stepped into a lot of roles like Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Cheshire Cat. How difficult is it to sort of emulate those classic voices?
Well, the thing about it is I think of it as almost as a sound first, and then you layer in the words and the voice, the rest of the voice. It's an example would be like Jim Ignatowski's character on on Taxi. Oh, I just but if you just go you're starting in the right neck of the woods there. If you could tell, if you could just latch on to the voice without onto the character without even saying a word, you're kind of in the right neck of the woods.
Right.
And then you just layer in the speech pattern, the rhythms and everything. And I think a lot of VO guys are singers or musicians, and I'm sure that I don't think that's a coincidence by any stretch because it kind of all ties in. There's a rhythm to it, and there's a musicality to it, and everybody's got that, in their speech patterns.
Yeah.
Like like Ted Kennedy seemed to be good for like 3 syllables at a time. Well, that is, I guess,
right.
you don't even, I don't even sound like him, but it's a lot of politicians do that, and you get the rhythms down and the meter and.
Sure, you just pick out those little nuances.
Yes.
Well, now, your work with Disney has dated back quite a while. I understand that one of your first gigs was for something called Dumbo's Circus?
Yes, that was my very, very first job. It was when Disney Channel was just starting up, and I was working in a video store, and one of the customers just made a demo tape, and he said, well, here, let me, I'll take this and pass it around, and blah, blah, and he ended up getting it to Don Bluth, who, the great animator and producer, and he had one of his people call me up. He goes, well, hey, you don't stink, but we're not doing anything. We'll hold on to it. If we run into someone, we'll pass it on. Which sounds like, don't call me because I ain't calling you back.
Right.
And he actually did. And Frank Brandt and Caroline Hay of Left Coast Productions were gearing up to do, 120 shows of Dumbo Circus. And I went up on my day off and auditioned for Lionel, and I got that job, and boom, I was off to the races,
And so on and so forth from there.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the difference for you, if there is one, between sitting down to voice a movie versus a television show versus a video game versus maybe for a theme park?
Oh boy, well, a movie is it ain't over till it's over, because the Winnie the Pooh movie, we must have done the whole thing twice or 3 times.
Really?
They rewrite a scene, or they'll rewrite something, or instead of falling in a hole, now we are falling off a waterfall and bouncing off a tree, or it's a work in progress. It's almost like sculpting. Whereas a TV show, cartoon show, it's set in stone. It's going to be 11 minutes or 22 minutes, and that's written. Here's the beginning, here's the middle, here's the end. Whereas with movies, it's kind of like it's a bit of a molding process, if you will. Certainly a sculpting, and you're knocking the edges off of it here. Well, this scene really doesn't work. That's not a good place for a song. That'll interrupt, blah blah. And so it's that kind of a thing. And then, of course, video games, those are insane because you have to do something for every prompt. If you fall through the floor, it's one sound. If you do, something explodes, it's another, that's a whole new world.
And, a big part of what we discuss here on Inside the Magic, of course, are the Disney theme parks. Is there anywhere in a theme park that we might hear your voice that we might not realize it's you?
Yeah, actually, there are a few. Well, obviously, the Winnie the Pooh rides they're in Tokyo, Paris, here, obviously, in Florida and Disneyland. Mm-hmm. But I'm the Epcot Center guy who blows out all the lights. That was in the year 2000. I can't even remember a word of it or even how I sounded. I think I was trying to sound like a wise old shaman.
So you're talking for the fireworks show.
For the fireworks, yes. And then he blows out he goes,
right.
And all the lights go out, which I've never seen it, but I'm going to finally see it at the end of this month, I think.
Oh, it's a phenomenal show, and I know exactly the voice you're talking about. I'm sure everybody listening right now is going, oh my God, that's you. So I didn't even know that was you.
Yeah. And I will say this, it's kind of a funny thing. My daughters, my older ones, they, whenever they go to Universal Studios, on the Terminator attraction, I'm the voiceover, because it's the rub is that you are doing an introduction to the what is it?
Cyberdyne
company. Yes. What is it again?
Cyberdyne.
Fiberdyne. Okay, there you go. And I'm the voice of the Fiberdyne, and it's they always call me up and go, Dad, listen, and then then they'll hold up the phone and I'll hear it, and it's one of my favorite lines, and I do remember it is, imagine a world so perfect, even butterflies have batteries.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, that is perfection, isn't it?
It is, and then, of course, they have that Shaquille O'Neal gag in there as well.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a fun attraction. Now, of course, Star Wars Weekends is coming up rapidly here at Hollywood
indeed.
Studios. You'll be out here in Florida appearing, right?
Yep. Yes, indeed. Absolutely. I'll be doing my beauty queen wave in the back of a motorcade. It's not going to be pretty.
And that's because you are the voice in the Clone Wars of Hondo Ohnaka?
Yes, one of my favorites. Yeah. It's a shame he's not, I don't think looks like we're not going to be doing any more of those.
Right.
So I'm kind of bummed out about that, but it looks like Hondo's got a pretty good fan base out there. A lot of folks like to dislike him.
Yeah, well, it seems like he offers a little bit of comic relief to the story too.
Oh yeah, he is. He's a lovable rogue. He's part pirate, and but he's not a truly evil guy. He's I wouldn't want to play poker with him, but
Now, a recent, very, very popular movie for Disney was Wreck-It Ralph, and in reviewing your IMDb and all of that, I saw that you were listed as additional voices on there. What was your role for that film?
Yeah, Yeah, I ended up, well, it was funny. I did Dr. Robotnik for a while, and
Right.
he had a couple of lines, and he ended up not having too many lines, but I'm still, I think I'm the voice of the arcade Game Over. Or, various things, dinosaurs here and there,
Yep.
or just some things like that, as opposed to having a regular standard character in there.
Sure. Well, now, to wrap all this together here, the question that I always love to ask talented folks like you is, of course, there's so many people who want to get into your field and, think they can do what you can do. What is your advice for any sort of voice acting hopefuls out there?
Well, just go get them. When I was a kid, I was in a lot of plays. So go ahead and do that. In fact, I was like 12 years old, and instead of wanting to be the prince, I wanted to be the wizard. It's a bigger stretch for you. You get to be a mystical wizard in a cave, or and it was accidentally all those little plays and things I did were sort of. I was training myself for this without even knowing it. And I've always tell people, be a sponge. Like, God rest her soul, my Aunt Grace. I've used her as like a punch drunk boxer because in my head as a kid, I mean, that's kind of how she sounded sort of like. Of course, that doesn't sound a thing like her, but the point is, you do that guy there, and it sort of sounded like he took a couple of blows to the head there.
Yeah.
And bless her heart, that's how she sounded to me. And so if you do a bad impression, and even if it's somebody very, very famous, if you do a bad impression of somebody,
right,
and no one knows who it is, you got a free new character.
Yeah, there you go.
And I always say, mix and match. If you want to come up with an eccentric cowboy, then take your best John Wayne impression and layer in some Katharine Hepburn over top of it, and God only knows what that'd sound like, but it would be different. And just doing bad impressions of famous people, get a new character, and if you do great impressions of unfamous people, you got a new character there too.
Perfect.
Be a sponge.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well, we look forward to seeing you out here in Orlando for Star Wars weekends and hearing much more of your voice in the years to come.
Yes, indeed. All right, I'll knock on wood, God willing, I'll be there. I'll take it.
Great. Jim, thanks very much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Stay tuned.
Easily one of my favorite guests I've ever had here on Inside the Magic. Jim, it was a wonderful time talking to him. Of course, I'm a huge fan of Darkwing Duck, obviously, so to have a chance to actually speak with Darkwing himself was pretty awesome. Of course, you can do the same coming up next weekend, or this coming weekend at Star Wars Weekends, May 24th through 26th. Jim Cummings will be there at Star Wars Weekends at Disney's Hollywood Studios, of course, because of his role, as I just said a little bit ago, Hondo Ohnaka from the Clone Wars, which sadly is a show that is going away, but the role, of course, still stands in the history of the Clone Wars, and he will be there along with other celebrity guests, Ray Park, who played Darth Maul in the films, as well as Warwick Davis, who is an Ewok, Wicket W. Warwick. So if you are going to be in the area, it's definitely a must head over. I know there's a lot going on that weekend. It's tough to cram everything in, but a chance to talk to the amazingly talented Jim Cummings, you really can't pass that up, and I'm so appreciative for him taking the time to talk to me here on this week's show. And now I want to certainly mention that this week's episode of Inside the Magic is also being sponsored by TouringPlans.com. If you want to save time by avoiding crowds and long lines on your Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or Universal Orlando vacation, TouringPlans.com is the solution for you. TouringPlans.com has everything you need to plan your trip, including a crowd calendar for planning the best days to visit, also a mobile wait time app with personalized computer-optimized touring plans. You can check out TouringPlans.com today and use discount code ITM to save 20% and start planning your stress-free vacation today.
Hey, Ricky. Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic listener feedback.
All right, we are running long on this week's show, so I'm just going to do some quick listener feedback here and then wrap everything up. First up, an email from Joey who writes, I know Merida is the newest Disney princess, but I think they forgot one. Giselle from Enchanted. I'm not sure why they left her out. Perhaps you know. Also, do you think the next might be possible for Sophia the First will be the next and youngest princess? Well, Joey, a good question there. Giselle, certainly a widely liked character from Enchanted. Great movie. Of course, Giselle was played by Amy Adams for the majority of it, live action character, not the animated version. And it's because of that, I think, that Giselle doesn't really appear in the park. She was there briefly when Enchanted first came out. It was a pre-parade at the Magic Kingdom. I had a chance to see her once. I don't even think she posed with guests for photos. I think she just walked through the street during a pre-parade, very, very limited engagement. And since then, she has not been back, to the best of my knowledge. I think it has to do with the likeness of Amy Adams, that, the character, obviously, in the park looks a lot like Amy Adams playing Giselle in the film, and there's, issues there with the likeness, so I think that's why. As far as Sophia the First, I don't see her becoming part of the actual Disney princess line. I have a feeling the next one will be Anna from the upcoming Disney film Frozen, which comes out in November, but of course that'll depend on how well that movie does. And now I want to go over to a voice message from Ron.
Hi, Ricky. This is Ron calling from Smiths Grove, Kentucky. I was just listening to last week's show, and you mentioned something about Pirates of the Caribbean in Disneyland. I've heard several people on podcasts mention that the Pirates of the Caribbean in Disneyland is a whole lot better than the Pirates of the Caribbean in Disney World. And I was wondering if you could compare and contrast them and then let me know exactly what the difference is, why it's so much better, or even if you think it's so much better. All right, I'd appreciate that. Thanks. Bye.
Well, I can definitely do that. Thanks very much for the call. It's pretty simple, really. Aside from the fact that it's Disneyland, and I kind of just like Disneyland better than the Magic Kingdom, but that's not a really good reason. That's just an opinion. The reason everybody says that Pirates is better at Disneyland than the one at the Magic Kingdom is because it's so much more immersive and longer. First, you enter through, and sort of the winding through. I guess you could argue that the Walt Disney World queue may be a little bit better because you go through that whole Spanish fort as opposed to sort of the very brief queue that you go through at Pirates, or rather could be long queue if you wait outside. But once you start sailing, everything is very different at the beginning because you sail slowly through the bayou. In fact, you sail by the Blue Bayou restaurant, and from there, past a little shack with the banjo guy playing, you got fireflies twinkling around you. You slowly float through a variety of scenes that are not present at Walt Disney World. They're scenes of the cursed, skeleton sort of dead pirates. It's not just the one cave beach scene that is in Florida, but also a more elaborate cave, as well as lots of treasure rooms and just multiple scenes. Plus the drops are bigger, and that's right, drops. That's an S at the end. There's two of them, and it's just a grander attraction. There's actually more scenes at the end as well. So bookended, it's just a bigger, better, longer experience, whereas Walt Disney World's version was kind of Pirates Light. Next is an email that I definitely wanted to include this week because it is timely for this coming weekend. Jesus, probably, maybe Jesus, but probably Jesus, writes in and says, I've enjoyed your videos on YouTube for quite a while and your podcast for about a month. This year will be my first time visiting Walt Disney World ever in my entire life. I've wanted to visit since my first love of Disney as a child, and it's been a long time coming that I finally received this chance to visit this magnificent place. As a former California resident, Disneyland Resort was never far from my mind to visit it. I'm super excited about this trip. Unfortunately, with a small amount of money saved up, I can only afford to spend a few days at the Florida Resort, so I decided to hit my first visit big by attending the all-nighter event. I've looked at another YouTube member's video about his time there for one more Disney day, and he looked completely exhausted. I'll be flying out the day after the event, so I need to avoid being asleep when I'm in need to head to the airport. So I need advice on how to keep myself well-rested and energized throughout the time I'm inside the Magic Kingdom. I'm also wondering if Mickey hats would be given out like last year, and more importantly, what can I expect about the crowd and places to go where I can take a nap? Well, interesting questions there. Last time I did not stay the entire 24 hours. I was there at the very beginning, which I'm planning to do again this year, right there at 6 a.m., and then I stayed for, a couple of hours. I left, and then I came back a little before midnight, and then waited it out from there until 6 a.m., which that second half I'm not planning on doing this year, because I have also other things things to do throughout the weekend, as you heard me explain earlier. But, I would say take it easy. 24 hours is a very long time, and I'm sure you'll be very excited to be there, and you want to cram everything in. But during the day, it's going to be a normal day at the Magic Kingdom. In fact, it'll probably be more crowded than normal day. It's Memorial Day weekend, which that alone is going to be very crowded. Plus, the all-nighter crowd's going to be there. It's going to be a busy day at the Magic Kingdom. Take your time. You have a very long time. Save, if you can. If you want to just take it easy, save, a lot of the attractions for late at night. I might even recommend to park hop and go to some of the other parks during the day and then go back to the Magic Kingdom toward the end of the night as it gets later and later. Because really, like I was saying, it's from 9 a.m. to, maybe 9, 10, 11 p.m., maybe even midnight sometimes. It's an average day at the Magic Kingdom. It's really those late night hours that make it special. So, I don't think I would necessarily count on being able to take a nap in the parks. I don't think Disney is really encouraging that sort of thing. You could certainly, go on some dark, slow attractions like Pirates and Haunted Mansion, maybe catch 5 minutes of some sleep there. Probably not. But I would really just recommend taking it easy and go at your own pace, ride the Tomorrowland Transit Authority like 50 times during the day, and with that amount of time in the park, you'll easily be able to slowly work your way through everything, and really park hopping would be my own personal advice. I know sort of the whole thing is to be there for the full 24 hours, but that's a very, very long time to be in the park. Just take it slow. I'm not sure about the Mickey hats. They're going to be selling Sully-themed hats. I don't know if they're going to be giving away Mickey hats this time around. I think it may just be some buttons, but you can certainly grab that at the beginning of the day. And with the show being very, very long, that's going to be it for listener feedback this week. So here we are at the end of show 424. Certainly two of my favorite interviews of all time here this week, talking extensively about Mystic Manor, the latest in sort of the line of Haunted Mansion-esque attractions. Not quite a Haunted Mansion, definitely a very, very different thing, but kind of that supernatural-ish feel, maybe not, sort of magical, mystical, obviously, and interesting for Hong Kong Disneyland. Can't wait to get out there someday to experience it myself. Definitely head on over to InsideTheMagic.net to look for the sort of story behind all of that, even further in depth with two great videos, not only for Mystic Manor, but also for Mystic Point. And then, of course, Jim Cummings. That's really all I have to say there. Absolutely hilarious. Loved talking to him. And if you have the chance, definitely head out to Star Wars Weekends this coming weekend to go see him in person. Don't forget also, speaking of Star Wars Weekends, head to the website and YouTube. If you're not going to be able to see it in person, check out this year's Hyperspace Hoopla and the dance-off with the Star Wars stars. Hilarious, as always. I separated it out into a lot of different clips. You can just watch it little piece by piece at a time, or you can sit down and watch the whole half-an-hour show all at once. It's all available there for you to kind of pick and choose, so don't miss that. I do want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com. Also, check out Capturing Magic in the iTunes App Store. Search for Capturing Magic and get those iPhone apps to help you sort of handle all those magical moments that you want to capture on photos throughout your time at the parks. And then, of course, to manage your time in the parks a bit more, touringplans.com is the place to do that. Help with the crowd flow and the wait times and all of that. And use code ITM to get 20% off their services as well. And of course, visit InsideTheMagic.net between episodes of this show. It is your source for Disney and theme park news. You can find all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news, articles, and plenty more over there. That whole Merida controversy is still going on over there as well. And of course, links to follow us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Vine, which I mentioned last week. And even after I mentioned Snapchat last week, a lot of you sent me pictures and sort of ad requests or whatever you call it on there. My Snapchat name is R. Briganti, so keep those coming. It's fun to do that. So anyway, thanks to all of you for listening and watching each and every week. Have a magical week. Bye.
Just a dream away.